As odd as it sounds, Dinomorphia is a deck that we have featured in many different hybrids on the channel in the past, but we've never actually played a pure Dinomorphia list. So I cooked up this, we were testing it out. It took a few tries and iterations before we eventually landed at what you're seeing in front of you, but I think this is probably the way in which you want to play Dinomorphia moving forward, and it is very effective. The earlier variants of it felt a little bit inconsistent, they felt a little bit bricky, and while you can't entirely dodge that problem because you are relying upon a limited number of starters, be it a high number of starters, but a limited number, is that we were playing sort of the wrong ratios of back row and everything, so this version of it here is a lot more competent than what we were playing in the past, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I've got a few really good replays lined up. We may play 1 or 2 live games towards the end of the video as well, but ultimately, this is a pure Dinomorphia list for the first time ever on the channel. And the reason we're featuring it now, rather than any time before, is the new card Dinomorphia Intact, which basically acts as Solemn Strike, where if you control a Dinomorphia card, you can pay half your life points to negate the activation of a monster effect and destroy it. And not only that, any battle damage you take for the rest of that turn is reduced to half of your life points, which basically means you can't die, which is awesome. So it's a searchable Solemn Strike that can be set from deck to protect you from death. One of the deck's biggest weaknesses, of course, if you're playing with a deck that has as close to 0 life points as possible. So yeah, Intact, really strong card, really want to visit the deck, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. So we're going to jump into the replays here. If you want to see this or anything else, of course, you can feel free to subscribe to the channel. We upload things every single day, so if you want to catch that as it's coming out, feel free to subscribe. Like this video if you end up enjoying watching. Let's get into replay number 1. Alright, getting into our first replay here, we're actually going second. We're playing, again, some sort of Bestial deck. Seems to be Bestial Runic, which is a deck that had some, I believe it was TCG success, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty popular right now. I've been seeing it around. Not quite as much as I would have expected, but it's definitely seeing some activity. We're going to start with Breezy here. We're going to set Brute from deck. We're going to set Foreign Pass. So setting Brute from deck was basically like a counter pick because we know we're playing against Runic. That Brute's going to be super powerful into this matchup. They're going to go for the Bestial Lubellion here. We're going to meet that with Maxi, of course. We don't want him drawing more cards than what he has to. Seeing that they didn't have an Ash Blossom for that, I decided that's when we're going to flip up Dinomorphia Domain, and he's going to hit us with a Maxi in return. Very interesting. Now we're both under Maxi here, and we both do all of our summoning during this turn. Or, well, in theory, I do all of mine during his turn, and he would like to do his during his own turn. So this should be interesting. He does draw a card off of our Kendradina, grabbing a Dressroom from his deck to hand. Not a McNomit. I'm going to go for Dressroom, then going to banish our Pharesia from the graveyard. We're going to go Kendradina's effect, banishing Domain to use its fusion effect. Now, that may have been a mistake, because that does force us to give out the Kendradina. We really should have copied Potential Frenzy, but you know what? It is what it is. We didn't have Frenzy in play, so it sucks to suck. They are going to go for the Dressroom still. Dressroom does hit the field. Now, we are prepared for this, though. They are going to shuffle back Pharesia, drawing an extra card. They're going to tribute off the Dressroom to go for the Bestial Lubellion. That's okay. I don't mean that at all. We're going to draw a card off Lubellion, summon. They're going to Dressworm to get rid of the Rexterm, and they're going to Droll here, which means that we only actually got to draw 1 card off of Maxi the whole time. Or 2 cards, sorry. So we're going to flip up Dinomorphia Alert to just bring the Rexterm back, bring him back, the very monster he just worked so hard to get rid of. Gonna go for Regain to bring back the Dressroom. Now they're going to go for Quem. Third Flames wipes the board into the battlefield. He's got nothing to do. We got 3, 10, 15 on the field. Dinomorphia Brute going to activate here, paying 500 more life points, attempting to destroy the Runic Fountain. But again, he has the Dispelling ready, summoning out that Hugin to protect the Runic Fountain. So he does preserve his Fountain for 1 additional turn. He cannot draw, though, so that was a fairly safe bet. And our opponent then, once we banish a monster from our graveyard, realized quite handily that they don't want any of what we're offering right now. There you go. Fairy Flames showing off how powerful it is. They were going to be going into a Chaos Angel there, which would have been a real problem because Chaos Angel is a pain. But nonetheless, we were able to stop them quite handily. Easy win. Game 3. 2. Fuck. Alright, getting into game 2 here. Again, going second here. We do have a pretty decent hand for going second, though. We're going to meet that monster his with an Ash Blossom. I want to beat out a potential call by or crossout. Our opponent doesn't activate either of those cards, so we're going to hold off just a little second longer. Going to go for Yuki here. We're going to meet Yuki with a Maxi. Let's see if he has an Ash in his hand, potentially. He does not. That means our Maxi resolves just fine. My Akashi really don't want to play too hard underneath the Maxi, so they're just going to summon out their Yuki-Onna and they're going to pass back to us. So you know what? Respectable play, that's totally fine. We're going to draw just a couple of cards. We're starting off at a 5-card hand, so it's not as if we got a massive amount of advantage. And Ghost Meets Girl is a very interesting play. This card would unironically have allowed him to play through like any other deck, right? That would have allowed him to play through any combo deck, anything that really wants to summon, because what this basically does is it locks you both into only summoning from the graveyard. Unfortunately for our opponent, we have no intention of summoning during this turn. So we're going to normal summon Diplo, it's going to mill a card, we're going to take arcade damage, and we're going to end our turns. We got our 4 face sounds, we got Ash on deck, we've got the Domain in the graveyard, which is going to protect us from effect damage later in the game. So they're going to go for their Mayakashi dude here, being revived of the Mizuki. A lot of really cool plays with the Mizuki in particular, with the Shiranui Mayakashi list. I am a big fan. We're going to flip our Frenzy, of course. We're going to use the Frenzy to bring out the Kentrigina. I believe this may have been I may have misplayed here with our Kentrigina. We're going to use Dinomorphia attack. Yep, we're going to negate and destroy that fucking dork right there. Don't need any of that. Was it this game I misplayed in with the Kentrigina banishing Domain? No, I banished Frenzy. No, I played it right. Never mind. There was a game where I did it wrong, but I don't think it's actually here, which is perfect. So Frenzy then being banished from grave, summoning out the Rexterm is perfect. That's exactly what we were looking to do. They're going to go for the Ghost Meets Girl, which actually puts Mizuki back into the graveyard, which is really useful because Mizuki's effect is not once per turn. They can banish it to resummon the Yuki owner from the graveyard. They're going to use the Musume or whatever its name is. Yeah, Musume from the graveyard. That can be ashed because it does mill a card from the deck to the grave. So now we're left with Fair Flames and Brute in the field, Rexterm locking everything down, and again, you can't get past it, right? There's a lot of decks who just can't get past the Rexterm, it's just brutal. So I did have another replay or two lined up, but rather than do all of that, what we're going to do instead is we're going to play just a couple of live games so we can get a little bit of a better idea of the thought process. Not that very much thought goes into set 5 pass, but we'll do it nonetheless. Now for the sake of context, I should mention that those games you saw, the replays were from Diamond 2. We're now in Master Rank, and you're going to see the deck that I did that with in just a couple of days. Really, really fun time, and some of you may already know what deck it is. But either way, we're going to focus on the here and now, playing in the Master Rank using Dinomorphia. Once again, going second. Why do you keep losing coin tosses when it comes to Dinomorphia? I don't know. We do have the Wannabe, which is nice. We got the Maxi on deck. Rest of our hand's pretty solid. I'm actually quite happy with this. We just need the Wannabe's going to help a lot here, actually, depending upon what he's playing, of course. Branded. That sure is a deck. We're going to go for the Maxi here. Does he have an out for the Sheesh? He might not. He does not have an out for the Sheesh. Now, the thing about Branded is Branded can quite readily play through Maxi. In fact, what you probably want to do is wait until they use Branded Fusion, summon Albion, the Branded Dragon, and then hit him with Maxi, because you're going to force him. I guess they just go Mirror Jade at that stage, so it's not really all that different from a Sanctifier play. So, no, maybe they just don't lose to Maxi, huh? Maybe they just don't lose to Maxi. Wild. Anyways, time to win. Setting a bunch of cards. That does hurt our Wannabe. Wannabe basically, during the end of a turn, can discard itself to check the top of your deck for as many unused spells and trap zones your opponent has. Ooh, and what a series of cards to hit. I will say this does get sent to the grave during the next end phase, so it has to be something I'm going to use this turn. So I guess Domain? Probably Domain, right? Because I'm not going to do anything. Yeah. We're going to go Domain. Because realistically, if I set Intact, it's useless. And if I set Judgment, I'm not really going to be doing anything during this turn that's going to be worth hitting with back row, right? So, I don't know if Judgment would have been the call. But either way, Domain is pretty useful. We're going to go for Diplos here. Go ahead, Diplos. We're going to use its effect. We're going to send a card from our deck to the graveyard. Got anything for me? He does not. We're going to send a... Do you have any effects on grave? You do have an effect in grave. I'm going to send a copy of Dinomorphia Intact. Just to protect us from battle damage should it come up. I doubt it will, but it might. Who knows? Got the Fair Flames, Domain, Alert. And we got the fucking goods on decks. So we're going to go Domain then, paying half our life points. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, we're going to summon out Kentragina. We're going to fuse the Pharesia and the Diplos in my deck. Bringing out Kentragina. Looking good, looking good. Gonna use the Albion here and now. That makes sense, that's smart. I am... It's actually kind of annoying. I am gonna go for the call by here. I'm gonna get rid of that... What did he target? Albaz? Yeah, I'm getting rid of that Albaz. Branded in red. Interesting. That makes a lot of sense. I fuck with it. Okay. Let's go for Kentragina. Gonna chain the Kentragina. Gonna hit him with that domain. Maybe we should have milled a copy of Frenzy? Maybe? Because we could have kept Kentragina on that. Nah, it's fine. It's all good. We got plenty. We're gonna fuse the Kentragina and the Pharesia in the deck. Alright, alright, alright. Bringing out the Rexterm. So now anything he summons at 2,000 or more attack points cannot activate their effects. So he does get the fusion summon if he wants to here, but if he summons out the likes of Albion or Lubellion, he does not get to activate their secondary fusion effects. Which is pretty useful. Pretty useful information to have. That means no Mirror Jade banishes, that means no additional fusion summons, that means no Sanctifier revives. It means you got nothing. It means you've got nothing. He's going to fuse together Albaz and Quem for Albion. Okay, that makes sense. Call by the Grave, doing nothing. He still gets to summon... Oh, he doesn't get to summon the Maxi. He has to summon both. Okay. I get it. Cool. Alright then, we're going to play... I'm going to go for Rexterm's effect. I'm going to bring all their attack points right down to 1,000. Into the battle phase. Saranir. Vanishing Kentragina. Oh, that's really a pain in the ass, because I really wanted to use Dinomorphia alert there. That would have been nice. Branded Beast. Oh, shit. Branded Beast. Tributing the Saranir. Gonna get rid of our Rexterm. Oh. That's cool. I'm gonna go Rexterm's effect then. You've actually put yourself in a much worse situation. You may have fucked yourself over there, bud. I'm not gonna lie. You made a dumb goof. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, we get to go Pharesia here. Pharesia will set a trap to our field. I'm gonna set another copy of Intact, I think. I think Intact is pretty solid. Good, good. Continue the main phase. I don't really see a point in continuing the main phase. We can go Dolka. Oh, that'd be cool. A little Dolka action. Hello? Although, is it better just to wipe out as much of his board as possible? I don't really fancy having that Alibur in the graveyard. I'm gonna be real. Yeah, I'm gonna go Dolka. Fuck this guy. I'm gonna go Dolka. Fuck this entire man. Absolutely not. Alright, into the battle phase. Going to take out Sanctifier Dragon. Don't want to be dealing with that nonsense. 13 to the face. Okay, main phase 2. Alert is going to bring back Rexterm. Fair Flames is going to wipe the field. Like, I'm not at all in any way, shape, or form concerned about this. I'm not concerned about this at all, honestly. Okay, Cartesia comes back from grave. I'm actually going to negate that. Yeah, I am actually going to negate that. Okay, I don't care about you. So you're adding Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion is like almost annoying. It's almost annoying, right? Cartesia being gone is very useful for me. I am going to go toggle on here. I'm going to immediately go for alert. Yup. Bringing back Big Bad Rex right here. Now, anything with more than 500 attack points can't activate its effect. We are looking a little bit low on life, but you know what? It's all part of the plan when it comes to Dinomorphia. Rexterm is going to be locking him down. I'm pretty confident here. I think we've got it. Okay, Brand of Fusion. We saw that coming. Brand of Fusion makes sense. No effect damage this turn. Let me see. Do you have any normal traps engraved that might be worth using? No. That's fine. I think I might domain for Kentragina. Let's see what he does off Brand of Fusion first. I'm curious. Let's see what he does off of the Brand of Fusion first. He might go for... There's a few things he could do here. If he sends Lebellion, then yeah, he does. He sends Lebellion. That's fine. That's all good. All part of the plan. Okay, summons another Albion. That's fine. He's still locked. We are going to go for Domain, though. Going to pay 250. We're going to summon out Kentragina. Going to fuse. Oh no, I've made a mistake! Oh, what have I done? This is fine. This is fine. It's okay. It's fine. It's literally fine. I'm going to summon Kentragina. You know what? This actually works out still. This is fine. Oh no, what have I done? What have I done? I could have Ferroflames away his whole board there. This is fine. I think I just Ferroflames to force the Lebellion. Right? Because he definitely hits Branded Beast here. Like, definitely. Right? There's no way he allows this to resolve. Yeah, for sure. So you're going to tribute Lebel... sure, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're going to target Kentragina, right? Yeah. That's what I thought, bitch. You fell for it. Gonna go for alert. Wait. That was the right one. It was the right one, yes. I freaked out for a second. Now, Rex turn back, baby. Okay, that's fine. I freaked out for a second, but I forgot that we're good at the game. So, you know, all is well. Hell yeah. Alright, Kentragina will grab us back Varisia. We are a little low on resources, but I think we're fine. Kentragina gonna set up Brute. Yeah. Brute's gonna help us deal with that Branded Beast, and everything else from there should be rather straightforward. End phase, he's gonna try and activate a couple of effects here. Yeah, that's gonna use... That's fine. I can let that happen. I can let that happen. It's the Albion I want to negate. For sure. It is the Albion that requires negation. So we can stop that. We can nip that in the bud. Good. So Albion being negated is very useful. That means no branded banishment. That means not... Yeah. You know what I mean? Get fucked. Dinomorphia, too good. Let's do one more. The one thing that you do have to do with this deck in particular, and you have to do it very carefully, is you have to manage your resources. You have to remember how many copies of a card you've used versus how many you still have in deck. It is something that occasionally even I trip up on. Again, with that domain, I completely forgot that we would have to fuse away our own monster for that domain, but you know what? It ended up working out, so I'm not going to complain about it. This is a pretty solid hand. This is a really solid hand. We're going to go for the Fossil Dig. We're not being met by any interruption, which is nice. So we can get the Varisia. Varisia is going to set up a Dinomorphia intact. And from there, we should be Gucci. Ooh, Gamma. Gamma? Really? Okay. That's fine. I can live with that. Alright, that's fine. I honestly, okay, I respect it. Okay, gonna set up our domain, gonna set our frenzy. Gonna pass turn. Gonna use the wannabe in our hand. Discarding it, we're gonna check the top 5 of our deck for a spell or a trap, and we can set it to the field. We hit the intact anyway, we're just good at the game, buddy. We're just good at the game. Gonna set that shit right the fuck there. Alright, That's good. That's really good. Oh, we are simple. I mean, checking the top 5, right? It's just like Pot of Prosperity, except like good. Like this card's sick. Do we play Pot of Prosperity? We should probably play Pot of Prosperity. Oh, you're trying to play the game, sir? Is that... Are those cards I see? Those are illegal. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure those are illegal. I'm gonna be a buck fitty with you. I don't think those are allowed around these parts. Send 2. We're gonna fuse into the Kentragina. This man thinks he's here to play cards. What a fucking idiot. Ooh, Soul Peacemaker. I might have to go Frenzy on that one. So we can go Domain and Grave. I'm trying to think about what we do with Kentragina's effects. I don't need it for anything like major. And the thing about this deck is you really, like Super Heavy Samurai specifically, I'm saying, is that it can get real tough to negate all of their cards because their monsters tend to have quite low attack points because the whole point of the archetype is they function in defense. So Rick's Term doesn't always feel like the most impactful card in the world. I am going to use Kentragina's effect. I am going to Fusion Summon once again. You can only control one Rex Term. So we're going to have to... Oh wait, no, what? Hang on. Yeah, no, that's not true. I don't know why I said that. That's not true at all. Alright, we're going to fuse these two then into a second Rex Term. So not only does that serve to basically buff upper line of defense in case he's playing an out to one of them, it's mainly to put our life points as low as humanly possible. I am also going to banish Domain, just in case. I don't know if SHS does any burn. They may do burn. But I'm stopping them right here if they do. Okay, so you're going to go into Scarecrow, right? Does Scarecrow have attack points? Oh, Soul Piercer, okay. Soul Piercer is fine. You don't do anything on field. It's only really when you get linked off that you're a problem. Regulus does nothing. Regulus actively does nothing. That's fine. That's so fine. I don't care about that at all. Literally at all. Right, so here's my question. I'm pretty sure I intact negate this. Right? And then on resolution of the chain, I activate Rex Term's effect. Yeah, and now he can't activate Scarecrow to bring it back. I'm going to assume that's the correct play. I could be wrong, but I'm going to assume that that's the play. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? I'm sorry, we're just too good at the game. God damn. Yeah. Let's get a look at the deck profile. And there you go. I mean, you saw it. You saw the replays, you saw the live gameplay, backing it up in the master rank. Dinomorphia is a very viable deck, and Intact has a lot to do with that. But again, even outside of that, there's the Rex Term is a super powerful card. Many people think that Dinomorphia is just, oh, summon Rex Term and sit on it. There really is a lot of very intricate plays. Like you saw from the gameplay, like we were sort of racking our brain, we're trying to dance around with resources, we're trying to sort of like loop things and protect things and set things up to a way in which that we're not vulnerable to our opponents, that we're going to maximize the amount of damage that we can dish out. We're making preemptive plays. There's a lot of like metagaming that goes on with this, where you sort of have to like play in your opponent's shoes rather than in your own, because your cards aren't complicated. Your cards are very much do thing, right? And when thing is done, do thing. That's it. That's your cards. Whereas like Super Heavy Samurai is like a fucking 7-page essay worth a different place. So you're more so playing in your opponent's shoes rather than your own most of the time, and that's how you're gonna get the most usage out of this deck. By trying to like plan ahead and be like, okay, my opponent's gonna do this. Right here is when I'm gonna activate my card, and then you want to get as much impact out of every single card you play as humanly possible. So it does take a little bit of knowledge to play, not only of the Dinomorphia cards, but you kind of have to know what you're doing in terms of like knowing matchups. You have to know like what Super Heavy Samurai is going to do, and what Sword Soul is going to do, and what Branded's going to do. And you have to know sort of like where their weaknesses are and where to hit them, as well as where you should preemptively do something, where you should wait to do something potentially. There's a lot of thought that goes into it, so but it is a relatively simple deck, right? For those of us who don't want to sit in combo for 7 weeks, this is the deck for you. It is a nice balance between active combo, big bad boss monsters. I mean, look at this fucker, right? This guy looks incredible, right? Absolute G. But it's a nice balance between sort of like combo-esque boss monster type gameplay versus like simple set 'em and flip 'em type trap card deck, right? So let's go through the list. Super straightforward list. Honestly, unironically, what took us the most time, and I say us because this was done on a Discord call, what took us the most time to like refine to a point was the ratio of Fossil Dig to Wannabe and Droll. So this little trio of cards give us the most trouble because, like, do you play 3 Fossil Dig and Misk? Do you not play Fossil Dig at all? Do you play 3 Wannabe? Do you play 1 Wannabe? Do you play 3 Droll? Like, those are the ones that, like, the ratios were the trickiest with, because a lot of the other cards are very cut and dry, right? Again, you want to play 3 Domain, 3 Frenzy, 3 Intact, 3 Judgment. You want to play 3 of these cards. It doesn't take a genius to work that out. But those ones in particular were just like well, we're seeing too much Fossil Dig in this hand. We don't want to see a ton of our monsters in hand, so, like, why don't we do it with this? Like, okay, we saw multiple Wannabe in this hand. We don't want to be seeing that, so maybe we should do with this. And that is the part that unironically took the longest to get right. But I think that we eventually sort of got it. And I think this is likely the ratio you want to carry on. You might even want to play less Fossil Dig, which feels like a crime to say, because Fossil Dig is such a good card. But you don't really want to see too many monsters. You want your hands to be trap cards. And that's why I like Wannabe so much, because it kind of fits that role where it's like, I don't want to get Pharisia to search my trap, I just want my trap, right? Pharisia is neat as a way to get to it, but I do want to keep as many of my monsters in my deck as I possibly can. So let's go through the list. It's very straightforward. We got that double droll. We got triple maxi, triple wannabe. Why am I taking these cards out, man? I'm thinking like it's a combo deck profile. It is not. Most assuredly not that. Well, we didn't put the glossy one. Gotta get the glossy one in. Come on. So we got double Droll Upper, triple Maxi, triple Wannabe. Excellent card. What this card does, for anyone who doesn't know, basically, during the end phase of any given turn, either player's end phase, it checks cards off the top of your deck equal to the number of unused spell or trap card zones your opponent has, and if you hit a trap card among them, you can set it to your field, which is very useful, right? Because if it, like, let's say you're going second, well, that means you're actually much more likely to have a Frenzy or a Domain live for your turn, right? You get hit Soul the Supreme King for your turn. You get hit Ferret Flames to potentially wipe the opponent's board, depending upon what cards you have access to. So while not every hit is a good hit, most hits are. And even then, something like Brute or Alert, which may not be usable during your turn, during the end phase of the following turn, gets sent to the graveyard. So worst case scenario, your opponent goes first, the only trap you hit is Brute, right? Set it to your field, of course you can't use it. Well, you might be able to use it, but maybe not. And it gets sent to the graveyard. That's not a problem, because that is prime territory to be copied and banished by Kentragina. So it's still not a bad thing. And it takes one more sort of like bad draw possibly out of the top 5 that you could top deck for that turn. And going first, it's pretty good because it sets up another powerful trap card for use during your opponent's turn, right? It's like the only card that gives you additional ways to access your Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment being able to negate spells or traps is super valuable because it stomps the legs of Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, which, you know, evenly matched. None of which are super popular right now. So it's not as if, like, it's a must-have, right? You don't have to play Judgment right now, I don't think. I think it's a fantastic card. And you're kind of missing out if you're not playing it, but at the same time, you're fine. You're okay. There's not a ton of fucking Duster flying around right now. There's not a ton of evenly matched. You're fine. If those cards pick up, you probably will want to run some Judgment, but for now, you're okay. So Wannabe at 3, I think, is definitely almost a must-have because it gets you access to your Domain and Frenzy. If you're going second, and if you're going first, it gets you additional access to Ferret Flames, to Judgment, to Soul, to Intact. It's just a really good card. Triple Ash. for, you know, stopping opponent. I mean, it's not really to stop opponents max C, but you kind of have to stop. You have to play Ashe because you're playing crossout. So you could probably unironically drop Ashe down. It's not as vital, and it's not like super high impact right now. The only thing is Branded is still really popular, and you know, Ashe into Branded's fantastic, right? So it's still a decent card to have right now. In general, it's a very sort of, it's low impact, but it's very versatile. So I could see a world where you want to play like Ashe at 2, maybe Droll at 3, maybe you play Droll at 2, Ashe at 2, and you want to throw in a Nib to help deal with Super Heavy Samurai. There's a lot of ways in which you could do that. Ashe is one of the more cuttable cards, but you need to play at least one as a cross-out target because you really don't like getting Ashed on your Frenzy or your Domain. We now have additional cards to deal with it. The Intact helps a lot with that problem, but why not have the one extra out, right? So you might end up playing something like this, you know, Nib or a third Droll or something, or you might like the free Ashe. You might want to stick with free Ashe. It's up to you. I'm just letting you know your options. Triple Freezy is a must-have. Unfortunately, it is a UER. Buck up and spend your fucking credits on it. It's a great card. Not only in this, but in also our Dino combo list. I don't know if very many people out there play like Dino combo with Dinomorphia engine. It is fucking G. Got a video coming up on that tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. So I think that this triple UER and Freesia is definitely worth the investment. Whether or not you want to go full tilt on the extra deck, now that's the question. But I think for the three Freesia is definitely worth it. And 2 or 3 composite Diplos. You might want a third copy of Diplos, honestly, just for your sort of long game. We were, even in this video, like our games, they can go on super long, but we were still in some situations where like we were towards the end of our tether when it comes to recursion and sort of our long game grid game. So you might want to consider a third Diplos for that reason, but it's also not that great of a card, so I don't know, it's up to you, Chief. And double Fossil Dig, pretty self-explanatory. And double Call by the Grave, again, you really want to stop Ash Blossom. This is the one of the few decks where Call by the Grave is for Ash, it's not for Maxi. Same for Crossout. Crossout's here for Ash, it's not here for Maxi. Triple Ferret Flames. Ferret Flames is one of the big reasons as to why you would even consider playing this deck. Ferret Flames basically allows you to shuffle monsters your opponent controls back into the deck until their total attack points is less than or equal to your life points. Now, because your life points are going to be virtually 0 at all times, Ferret Flames is normally just a field wipe. Which is awesome, right? Because I don't even... Is it even once per turn? It's not even once per turn. It's pretty fucking nuts. It's just a normal trap with no cost. And yeah, it's not even once per turn, so go nuts. Ferret Flame's insane. That's why we run 3 of it. Trap Trick as well. Another reason as to why we're running 3 of this, and 3 of this, and 3 of this, and blah blah blah, is because Trap Trick allows you, if you have 2 copies of any normal trap in your deck, you can banish 1 copy of that trap to set another copy and use it that turn. However, there is a major downside with Trap Trick. You can only activate 1 more trap that turn. So that's why Trap Trick maybe not the greatest card in the world. We're only playing it at 1 because I wanted to experiment with it. Again, if you're in a position where you're looking at this list and thinking to yourself, I really wish I had a third Droll, or I really wish I had Nibiru in this list, right? Cut Trap Trick. Cut it. It's not that good. Normally, I'm all for Trap Trick. I think in a pinch, it would definitely help you win a game. I just think that we play far too many powerful trap cards to at any point be so heavily hindered into playing just 1 for the rest of the turn. I think the ideal situation for this is if you have Trap Trick and Frenzy and Domain, you can go in the Rex turn and set all of that up, and like Trap Trick is your last usable trap. You can use it to win the Ferret Flames. Fair enough, right? But we've already got Triple Wannabe. We're already running 3 copies of Ferret Flames. You will almost always have access to this card. I don't think it's worth running the additional Trap Trick because of that little bottleneck it adds in. But you do you, right? You can take it out. I would probably, in hindsight, replace it with a Nibiru or a third Droll. I think Droll's really strong. Probably a Nibiru, though, because I do like sort of varying my interruption. I really like sort of the heavy punish off the Maxi as well. The 2 Droll, we see it often enough. I'm not too worried about that. And there are certain decks that Droll just doesn't impact at all. Branded is the main one. Branded just doesn't fucking lose to anything, man. There's no, like, one card you can say, like, that's in my deck because it deals with Branded. Other than Ash Blossom, kind of. But, like, there's still a lot of cards in Branded that allow them to play through Ash Blossom. It's like, well, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, they can ignore Droll completely. They can end their turn in less than 5 summons if they're worried about Nib. They can play with 1 summon. If you hit them with Maxi, they just go Branded Fusion into the Sanctifier Dragon and then you're fucked. Like, nothing stops them. So I would maybe play one nib, just as an additional way to maybe punish these kinds of decks. Super Heavy Samurai in particular comes up a lot. But again, as you saw in the gameplay, we have tons of plays around Super Heavy Samurai. If you just use your brain, plan your plays, you can usually shut them down pretty quickly. Anyways, Domain. Domain and Frenzy, I'm going to group together. These are your fusion traps. Frenzy will use one monster in deck and one monster in extra deck specifically. Has to be from those. No hand, no field, no nothing. Has to be one in deck, one in extra deck, right? And then you got Domain, which is hand, field, and deck, right? So really, really strong cards, of course. Both of which cause you to all of the Dinomorphia cards, you have to pay half your life points to activate, of course, right? That's the whole point of the archetype, and we'll get to that later. But Domain allows you to go into Kentragina, basically, and then you can use Domain again to fuse Kentragina with one of the monsters in your deck to go in the Rex turn. Frenzy is a little bit more powerful because Frenzy, you still go into Kentragina, then you can use Kentragina's effect to banish the Frenzy to copy its effect to summon out another Rex turn using a Stealth Bird and another Dinomorphia in deck without sacrificing your Kentragina. And Kentragina is really useful because it can copy, and most people only know it as like an extender in the Rex turn because, you know, you use the normal trap, then you can use Dinomorphia's effect to copy the normal trap in grave and it summons out the Rex turn. It holds so much more potential than that, some of which I was able to show you in this video, right? Where we were able to copy the likes of Alert to dance around the branded beast. Shit was fucking fire. So it can also copy the likes of branded Dinomorphia Brute as well, which is awesome. So I think if you play clever with Kentragina, you can do a lot. I think this card definitely gets overlooked quite heavily. And Domain and Frenzy are some of the main points at which you actually get to use it. Frenzy, of course, even better than the Domain, which is funny because Domain's the UR, and this is a UR because this came out way before Frenzy did. This wasn't like the original Dinomorphia pack. Whereas like Frenzy and stuff like that came out later, and then Intact came out later still. So they really sort of spread out the Dinomorphia cards. But yeah, then we got Dinomorphia Alert, which allows you to bring up to 2 Dinomorphia monsters whose levels are 8 or less. I normally just use this to bring back Rexturn, is the most practical use of this card that I found. But it can also bring back like Diplo's Frisia as additional fusion materials for another Domain, right? That's another option. So there's a lot you can do with Alert. I think Alert is a really good card. It was one of those cards where I looked at when I was deck building. I was like, we'll test it out. I'll probably cut it, but we'll see. But it has honestly impressed me way more than I thought it would. It really has done the Lord's work. This card has been amazing in almost every single instance I've seen it. So I really actually like Dinomorphia Alert. And then we get Dinomorphia Brute, which you pop a Dinomorphia in your field, pop it in your opponent's field. Pretty straightforward spot removal. Frenzy we've already talked about. Soul of the Supreme King is very extra. So the way in which this card works, right, it basically just brings out this guy, right? Supreme King's the Arc, which, you know, is really impressive on the surface, everything, blah, blah, blah. Its main purpose, right, is basically with the, number one, it costs half your life points to activate, which is big. Again, whole point of Dinomorphia, get those life points nice and low. So having having your life points is really good. But secondly, it summons out the Z-Arc, which is a huge beater and everything. That's awesome. But the main benefit is that if you have Z-Arc on the field, you can, and your opponent activates a spell card, you can use this Engrave to banish it and the Zark to summon out 4 monsters from the extra deck. What are 4 monsters? You're going to summon the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. You're going to summon the Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon. You're going to summon the Crystal Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. And you're going to summon the Arc Rebellion Exceed Dragon. All of which, of course, are extremely powerful cards. They don't offer quite as much interruption as one would probably like. Starving Venom and the Rebellion Exceed Dragon are basically just big beaters. But the Pendulum Dragon actually has some pretty useful effects. And this card is an absolute fucking G, basically. This card, we'll talk about this in more detail actually later on, but this essentially either A, completely stops your opponent from activating spells, or B, if they do activate a spell, then you just completely fuck their whole day up, right? You just bring out a bunch of really strong monsters and you just ruin their whole day. Now, what I would be tempted to run because of this, if you wanted to lean more heavily into this card, which you can do, You can absolutely do that. You can lean more heavily into this. You can play 2. I've seen some people even running 3 copies of it, right? At that stage, you're probably going to want to mess around with your extra deck to make actually like better use of it. So maybe like a second Zark. Maybe you want to cut Kentrigina and Rexstorm down to 2 apiece, so you can play something like the Harbinger. Because the Starving Venom and things there, it's just like a level 8 spammable monster. It doesn't really do very much on field, but you can turn them very easily into the likes of the Hope Harbinger. So like there's a whole bunch of things you could do there depending upon how hard you want to lean into Solo the Supreme King. I think if you wanted to lean into it, you absolutely could. It'd be pretty fucking funny, but I don't think it's necessary. Solemn Judgment. Counter trap, pay half your life points, negate either a spell or a trap card, or the summon or summon of a monster, which is awesome. Not very many cards negate the summon of a monster. And again, negating the summon of a monster, for those who don't know, if you have a monster that normally like can't be destroyed, or it's unaffected by card effects, or whatever, right? All of those protections, right, that unaffectedness, only takes effect after its summon has resolved, which means if you were to Solemn Judgment, say, a Borderland Dragon, well, that Borderland Dragon gets destroyed, even though in its text it says it can't be destroyed by card effect, because you're stopping its actual summon. Its summon hasn't resolved, therefore its protection hasn't kicked in yet. So, good to know, again. It's nice to have an out to those types of really problematic cards. I mean, Borderland and things you kind of do have an out to. In a way, you've got that, the Rexstorm kind of outs it. Kind of. It doesn't, like, out it doesn't get rid of it, but it allows you to just beat over it continuously, and like, you can stop it from activating its effects to bring back the Tracer and such, so it kind of sort of outs it. But Judgment definitely helps a lot in dealing with some really problematic summons. And then Dinomorphia Intact, the card of the hour. We already talked about this at the beginning of the video, but for those of us who skipped ahead potentially to the deck profile, first of all, go watch the videos, you fucking bum. Secondly, this is basically your in-archetype Solemn Strike. You can use this card in response to an activated monster effect. You pump that card by paying half your life points, so it's like an in-archetype Solemn Strike, which is fucking awesome, right? The only reason, and someone actually mentioned this to me while we were on the call, in the Discord call, why don't we play Solemn Strike? This. I was playing Solemn Strike. I think this is a really good card. If you have it and want to play it, play it. Really good card. My only thing is, if you activate 3 Dinomorphia cards, this is no longer usable. It becomes a brick. So, do with that as you will. If you activate 3 Dinomorphia cards, this card is no longer usable. It's a really good card. If it's the first trap you use, nuts. Super good. If it's the second trap you use, great, man. If it's the third trap you use, cutting it close, but really fucking good. But after that, it's useless. I just didn't want that. I just would rather have the additional judgments. But if you wanted to play it, by all means. This card's also really good because it does 2 additional things. Number 1, during the turn in which you activate its first effect and negate something, any battle damage you receive is reduced to half of your life points, which no matter how many times nor how hard they hit you, you cannot die, and they're just getting you lower and lower for the use of your Rexstorm. And secondary to that is, if it's in your graveyard and you have less than 2,000 life points, you can banish it, and for the rest of that turn, if you would take battle damage from a battle, you can banish this card to stop any damage you would have received. So even after the turn in which you use it, it's still useful because it still protects you from that one crucial battle. Pretty good card. Into the extra deck, not really complicated. We've got the triple Kentrigina. Do you need triple Kentrigina? Probably not. You can get away with 2. Same with Rexstorm, you can get away with 2. Do we do that? No, we don't. We play 3 because we're, I don't know, sociopaths. So this card is 4,000 attack, which is the first thing you spot. 4,000 attack, hell yeah, let's beat ass. Not quite that quick. This card loses attack points equal to your life points, which normally means it's going to be in the range of 2,000 to 3,000 attack points. Later in the game, it will start to look 3,500, 3,750, so on and so forth. But for the first little while, it's going to be about 2,000 to 3,000, which is still sizable, don't get me wrong. This card also, it allows you, as a quick effect during the main phase, either player's main phase, you can activate its effect to banish a Dinomorphia normal trap from your graveyard to copy and apply its effects. The normal usage of that effect is going to be to reuse the fusion trap that you used to summon Kentrigina in the first place, right? And then you use that to summon out the Rexstorm, getting your life points nice and low. Just like the other Dinomorphia monsters, it does have an effect upon destruction where you will summon a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia monster from the graveyard. Theresia and Diplos, I should have mentioned this earlier, actually have that effect as well, where they get to summon out a Dinomorphia from their graveyard, level 4 or lower when they're destroyed. So Converged kind of has that same effect as Theresia and Diplos. Stealthbird is fusion material. That is it. Do not summon this. It is bad. Dinomorphia Rexter. Basically, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters who have more attack than you have life points. Now, that does not negate monsters' effects. It does not skill drain. So any passive or continuous effects your opponent has on their field will still take precedence. They will still resolve and work. But your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters on the field who have more attack than your life. Now, that covers 70% of monster effects, which is pretty fucking awesome. So that means it completely shuts down Branded, for example. That means no Albion, no Labellion, no fuck shit when it comes to their fusion monsters. Nothing. It stops the majority of combo decks, like Sword Soul, like summon your 2800 beater. She's out does nothing, right? Sinister Sovereign, Supreme Sovereign do nothing. They're just big. This deck deals with big. And how this deck deals with big is Rexterm's next effect, that as a quick effect, you can, and this is not like main phase, this can be battle phase as well, as a quick effect, you can pay half of your life points to change the attack points of all your opponent's monsters to your life points, which means that by the time you summon this, at the very most, you're going to have, upon resolving that effect, 1,000 life points, because you're going to pay 4,000 to summon out Kentrigina, you're going to pay 2,000 to summon out this guy, and then you're going to pay an extra 1,000 to use that effect. So at the absolute most, they're going to have 1,000 attack points, and you can use that in battle phase on attack declaration. You don't have to use it in main phase preemptively to give them time to play around it. You can, however, again, like you saw in the Super Heavy Samurai game, preemptively use that effect to stop them from using certain ignition type effects like the Scarclaw Scarecrow. We shut that down by cleverly combining its two effects, because if their attack points become your life points, well, that means they can't activate their effects anymore, can they? So if you can also cleverly combine those to shut down your opponents at certain big choke points in their combos. But that's where the matchup knowledge comes in. That's what I said at the beginning. You have to know your matchups if you're playing Dinomorphia, because you have to know exactly when to hit them with certain cards. Otherwise, you're going to lose matches that you otherwise should have won. But yeah, Rexterm's pretty nuts. And again, if this card is destroyed, you can special summon a level 6 or lower Dinomorphia from graveyard. That is your Kentrigina. And yeah, the only other real monster we haven't talked about is Dolka, which is just non-once per turn Solemn Strike, basically, where you can detach a material to negate a monster effect and destroy that monster. This card is just too strong to not play. You can summon it if you can. Why wouldn't I? It's just that good. So I absolutely fucking love Dolka. And yeah, the rest of these cards are very much just your Z-Arc targets. So you've got your Starving Venom, your Pendulum Dragon, your Rebellion, and your Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. So these two are mainly just beaters. Starving Venom and the Arc Rebellion, they don't do anything. I guess Starving Venom technically clears your opponent's board on destruction, which isn't nothing, actually. That's pretty fucking strong. So maybe that's not nothing. But the Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon has like a kind of okay effect, where its first effect doesn't matter, where if it's fusion summon, you change all of your face-up opponent's monsters to 0, that's whatever. Its second effect, though, negate the activated effects of monsters with 0 attack. That is a passive effect that is active regardless of whether or not it is fusion summoned. So just by summoning this card out, you can freeze your camera, apparently, like a fucking professional YouTuber like me. But no, you can stop your opponent from utilizing the effects of monsters with 0 attack points, like, and wait for it, Super Heavy Samurai Scarclaw, right? Magician Souls, all of these really strong monsters with 0 attack. So just by having him out, you can stop all of those effects, which is pretty good, right? At the end of the damage step, if it attacks the opponent's monster, but the monster was not destroyed by the battle, you can banish that monster. It's got that Twin Burst Dragon vibe to it as well. So if your opponent's got like a defensive wall that can't be destroyed, or whatever it is, and you've got the Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon, well then banish it, right? So if you want to talk about this in a more practical sense, you can combine this card with the likes of Rexterm to out the likes of the Borderland Dragon, right? Because you can reduce the Borderland Dragon down using the effect of Rexterm to like 1,000 attack points, swing into a Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon. It isn't destroyed by the battle, but then it'll be banished by the Pendulum Dragon's effect. So this guy is actually kind of neat. I really actually like this guy. I think his art is also fucking beautiful. I really wish it didn't drive my laptop as crazy as it is, apparently. But yeah, I think this guy is pretty fucking sick. But this is the MVP, the level 10 Synchro. So once per turn your opponent activates a monster effect, you can respond to that effect by a quick effect. And then until the end of this turn, this monster is unaffected by activated effects of your opponent's monster. So it becomes sort of like immune, and it also gains attack points equal to that monster's original attack. It kind of feels like a bad version of Gwymir's effect, where Gwymir can like respond to an opponent's monster, but like banishes it and makes your whole field protected. What this guy does is protects himself, and then gains attack points. So he turns himself into a bit of a juggernaut, but he doesn't give a shit about the rest of your field. So it's like a weakened version of Gwymir's effect. But given that you summon him for free, I'm not fucking complaining. He does, however, have another effect after that, though. Once per turn, if your opponent activates a spell or a trap, you can negate the activation and destroy that card. So it can protect itself from monsters, gain a bunch of attack points, and it's a spell trap negate. What's not to love? If this Synchro Summon card is destroyed into the graveyard, add a wind monster, protect the hand, that doesn't matter. I guess, actually, yeah, Droll is wind. I just realized that. Hang on. Well, it's not Synchro Summoned. Okay, right. So, it's a spell trap negate that is unaffected by opponent's monster effects. What's not to love? And that is the whole deck. So again, I've rambled on about this deck for more than long enough. I'm sure y'all are sick of hearing me. So I'm going to leave you with that to sort of sit on, think about. If you get any cool ideas when it comes to Dinomorphia, like a pure sort of trap version of Dinomorphia, let me know in the comments below. I would absolutely love to. I would like to play more around with the Soul of the Supreme King. If it wasn't so fucking expensive, man. There's so many decks I'm going to build and I don't have nearly enough credits. But if you want to see any other sort of cool shenanigans when it comes to Dinomorphia, if you have any nice ideas, let me know down below, or hop into the Discord and just leave your ideas there directly. That's where I get a lot of my deck building inspiration, is from the fine people in the Discord. So if you want to get involved, that is the best place to do it. But for now, if you got this far into the video, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.